terrifying discovery of the Garden of Eden that will blow your mind. The question of whether the Garden of Eden existed is bound to spark a heated debate in no time. The story about the Garden of Eden may appear straightforward to religious people, but even those who do not believe in Christianity may acknowledge this truth because biblical stories are based on some real-life location. As a result, the arguments. For those who are not religious or familiar with the story of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden was the first home to mankind according to the second chapter of the book of Genesis in the Bible. The Bible describes it as a paradise where everything is flawless. There were no sicknesses, no deaths, no starvation. Scientists searching through old manuscripts for clues and references that could help them determine the garden's location have surely not missed. Watch this video to discover more about the extremely concerning findings of a recent study that have revealed some promising indicators as to where it is. According to the Old Testament book of Genesis, Adam and Eve, the first humans created by God, dwelt in the Garden of Eden, a paradise on earth, before being banished for disobeying God. The Garden of Eden is also known as the Garden of God and the Garden of Yahweh, the God of Israel, in the Old Testament books of Genesis and Ezekiel, respectively. According to Genesis 2:8, the Garden of Eden was located on the east side of the Eden region. Eden is most likely derived from the Sumerian word Eden, which means plain, and the Akkadian word edinu, adapted from Sumerian. Rivers poured out of Eden after the creation and fall of man, according to the Genesis story, and stretched as far as the east of Israel and the four corners of the world. Other related legends uncovered in Sumerian archives suggest that the concept of an earthly paradise existed in early Middle Eastern mythology. In Hebrew, Eden can mean luxury or pleasure. The lesson is that Eden's garden contained trees and stones made of gold, beryl, and onyx. The book of Genesis also describes the Garden of Eden's magnificent environment and how it received its waters from 4 different rivers, resulting in a lush garden. It is no secret that man has been searching for the Garden of Eden ever since Adam and Eve were banished from the garden. Its discovery would give credence to the story of creation and provide substantial evidence that biblical events occurred. Fortunately, many people still believe it's out there, ready to be discovered. Although a river is claimed to have sprung from the garden, its name is unknown. The river splits into 4 rivers: the Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. Lots of researchers have speculated on the locations of the 4 rivers in an attempt to find the Garden of Eden. Although the Bible gives some suggestions as to its location, according to Genesis, Eden is in the east. Furthermore, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers have been recognized as 2 of the 4 rivers that are issued from the garden. In his commentary on Genesis, John Calvin also provided a comprehensive review of many points of view. He quoted numerous early church fathers who lived around 2,000 years before the events of 2021. He included non-Christian opinions as well. The Bible, history, or archaeology provide no evidence for the claim that the river Pishon is the Danube. Others say that this river is the modern Ganges or Indus. The Pishon River encircled the Havilah region, according to the Bible. We are unaware of the location of this garden or the existence of any rivers carrying the name Pishon. Both the Pishon River and Havilah's locations are uncertain. The Gihon River's exact position is also unknown. Some people claim that this river is the Nile. This is a widely held belief, although there is no evidence to back it up. To put it another way, we have no idea where the Pishon and Gihon rivers are. In current times, the location of the rivers Tigris and Euphrates are well known, although it is uncertain where the rivers with the same names were when Adam and Eve lived. The Tigris and Euphrates start in the Syrian and Iraqi highlands and flow across modern-day Iraq before reaching the Mediterranean. The New Testament explains that the world's topography was altered by the catastrophic flood that occurred during Noah's time. There are several reasons to think the Great Flood altered the world's geography. Our world's geography has changed since it was first created. In his commentary on Genesis, John Calvin noted that some people try to claim that the Earth's surface is altered. Since there are no rivers with those names, the location of the Pishon and Gihon rivers provide the biggest challenge for every scientist searching for the Garden of Eden. Because of this, some people now think that the garden is located in what is now Iraq. After all, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers travel through Iraq, which is located in the east. Genesis mentions the land of Cush, which is thought to be Ethiopia. However, the recognized rivers are not located there. Others claim that the rivers originate in Azerbaijan, or the historical Gihon Spring is located in Jerusalem. However, the actual site is unclear. Believers have proposed Bahrain, where a lone tree known as the Tree of Life grows alone in a parched desert, the Zagros Mountains of Iran, and Armenia as prospective locations for the garden. Iraq's swamplands, thought to be the biblical Garden of Eden, had suffered 3 years of drought, low rainfall, and reduced water flows along rivers and tributaries flowing the neighboring Turkey and Iran. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet in Iraq's marshlands, which are said to have inspired the Garden of Eden in the Bible. During Iraq's conflict with Iran in the 1980s, water in the marsh was extensively dammed and irrigated. In the 1990s, Saddam Hussein drained much of the water from the marshes that had once covered 3,500 square miles. Saddam drained the water in retaliation for an uprising, causing the marsh Arabs to flee and reducing the wetlands to 290 square miles. It has progressively recovered since then and has been named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Historically, the wetlands suffered long periods of severe drought before being replenished by abundant rainy seasons. The problem with this argument is that the river's routes have changed with time, and the geographical landmarks referenced in Genesis are no longer there. Probably the rivers did not run through any portions of Iraq at the time the garden was thought to exist. The Bible states that God placed a blazing sword on the east side of the garden to keep mankind from returning to the earthly paradise from which he had ejected Adam and Eve. The garden was distinguished by the oil fire seen between two mountains when the Yazidis, an ethnic and religious community rarely recognized outside the area until they were oppressed by the Islamic State. Can we know where the Garden of Eden was if we base our knowledge on the Bible's history? The answer is an obvious no. According to the Bible, a global flood submerged all the lofty mountains. This would have drastically changed the Earth's surface and destroyed all vegetation. If Eden existed in Iraq, it's currently buried beneath massive quantities of sedimentary layers produced after the flood. So, why are all those rivers still referred to by their biblical names today? The Tigris and Euphrates rivers in that region were most likely named after Noah's descendants, who stepped from the ark after the flood as a way of remembering the rivers that existed before the flood. The name of the two small communities in Ontario, Scotland, and Paris are perfect examples of this human inclination. More than a century ago, immigrants to Canada named their new communities after the old country. This is common throughout Canada. According to groundbreaking research, scientists now have a clearer understanding of the Garden of Eden and its location. Maybe we'll find it someday. While some want to embrace scientific evidence, others believe that only God knows where the Garden of Eden is. The Garden of Eden existed at one point, but it is now hard to find because of the sin and the Great Flood, which changed the earth. According to the Bible, after Adam and Eve sinned, God exiled them from Eden, and to prevent them from returning, he placed cherubim with flaming swords in the east of Eden. As a result, even if we find the garden today, we may never be allowed to enter. We may never fully comprehend the mystery surrounding the Garden of Eden. However, it is a story passed down through the ages and will live on for a very long time. And that brings us to the end of this video. Let us know in the comments section if you think the story of the Garden of Eden is fictional and if we will ever find it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell to get notified when we post a new video.